Hey folks, going live a little early, letting people show up. 5 minutes early, 4 minutes early. If you're watching the replay, forgive me. Also, if you're watching the replays, you can't chat live. You can put in a comment under the video, and I'll get to it when I answer questions normally, which is pretty often. So if you can't be here and you put in a question, I will answer it. You can't chat live unless you're watching live. So anyway, I'm going to put a link to my Pixels page. So if you want to get a cup, which helps support, I get like a buck or two, I think, from the hey Garth, thanks for showing up. From the cups or from whatever on the Pixels, I have it set so the profit is like $1, I think. So anyway, if you want to get a cup, there you go. There's the link is right there. So what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to let people get in here before we really start chatting. Going to talk about the LEB decals that I got. I made a mistake in my video, which is not unusual. I make lots of mistakes, and now I get to correct it, and it gives me a chance to talk about them again because they're amazing decals. And yeah, we'll talk about those. Talk about some of the recent Scalextric samples that I got. And what else will we talk about? I don't know. Anything anybody wants to talk about. It's the middle of the summer. Do people still race during the summer? Do you guys take a break during the summer? The club that I race with, they're still racing, even though it is the summer, and they get a lot of folks that come. I think maybe 8 or 10 guys still in the summer, and they're still doing some racing. Actually, we do mostly like 1/24th, 1/25th scale stuff now. Yeah, the guys are really into buying model bodies or models and the H&R chassis because that's mostly what we use at my club. Sorry for the laptop is a little shaky. The club guys mostly use the model bodies. We've been getting them at Ollie's, actually. If you have an Ollie's near you, it's like a discount clearance place. Hey, DeFingers. Hey, John. We have the Ollie's in our area. It's like a clearance place. They get stuff that's, as people in whatever industry call it distressed. They have to close the stuff out, and Ollie sells models from time to time. Hello from Long Island. Strong Island, baby. Hey, Raymond. So that's where we've been getting a lot of models. And model bodies, there's, and, of course, getting them at Hobby Lobby. A lot of guys get them at Hobby Lobby, too. And mostly the racing that the club does is 24th and 25th scale stuff these days. When I go back, probably won't race again until end of September, beginning of October, maybe. I got a baseball game today. Today's Sunday, obviously, and baseball season here because I'm a photographer for a minor league team. Hello, Dawson. Hello from Ireland. Thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it, Dawson. I really want to visit Ireland at some point. Some of my family was from Ireland, last name Kennedy, and love to go back and see where they were from. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to go racing again until end of September, beginning of October because of the baseball season, and then we have the Little League World Series here, and I'm going to be one of the primary people that shoot that for our paper and doing a lot of videos and stuff. But anyway, okay, it is 11:01. So let's actually start some slot talk, shall we? So I made a mistake when I was talking, and like I said before, I make a lot of mistakes, and the decals that LEB made are they're exclusive to them. This is how they come. I showed this in my video. These are absolutely stunning decals. Are you selling some of your slot cars, Joseph? I am not at the moment. Hello, Mach 5 or Mach. Hey Clem, there's Clem. I'm not. I'm kind of hold off on selling more slots for a little while yet. I don't really need to sell them now because I don't. I cleaned out a lot of stuff. I'm gonna clean up my slot area in about maybe month or two before winter, and I want to hold off on that. So we're going to talk about the decals now from LEB. These are a special run of decals that LEB had made. These are exclusive to them, as far as I know. These are fantastic. So they come in the bag. These are the decals. I showed these on the stream the other day. I know this is really hard to see. These decals are incredibly crisp. The edges are absolutely amazing. The color is rich and saturated. I know it doesn't really look like that on this, but these are among the finest decals I've ever seen. The finest print size, and I've taken typography classes years ago when I was in college. I mean, this is maybe 4-point type, some of them, or maybe 1-point type, which is literally as small as you can make. Get as close as I can here. So they are so sharp, so crisp. The registration on them, the registration means when you print 4 colors, right? You don't print, some print 3 colors, red, green, blue. Some print CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. But so when you lay over the different colors to get a full color whatever, that's called registration. If the colors all line up, there is the registration on these. The quality on these is superb, simply superb. These are microscale decals. They were made, these are not Altalea decals. They were made for LEB specially by microscale. The cool thing, yes, the decals are really cool. I like when you get something, it's nice to feel like not only did you buy a good product, but you also bought an interesting experience, I guess you'd say. So here's what you get. This is a little 2 pages here, folds over, and what you get is description of a bunch of different cars in the decals, and you can make one version. One version? Yes, one version, because there's only one set of long stripes. You can make one version of 2 different cars. No. Decals are not just decals. These are as good as you could ever want, in my humble opinion. So the cool thing is, like I said, you can make all these different versions, one version of all of these different versions, the number 23 or the number 16, and there is minute differences between them. There's different placements of the sponsor logos here and there, and then there's the information on the back of this as well to make an exact replica of a car. I mean, this is exact. And you can see the chassis number. It's broken down by the race. So if you're a fan of a race, like I'm a big fan of Sebring, or Watkins Glen. I live right near Watkins Glen. Well, near like 2 hours away, which is pretty near. It tells you Mossport, Edmonton, Road America, Laguna Seca. You can pick which one you want to make. That's really excellent. Hey, Jay. Gracias, Jay. Thank you very much for showing up. Yeah, it's a really cool, I agree, Defenders. It's really cool to be able to pick exactly what you want. If you want to do the number 16 or the number 23, and then make exactly the right, if you have a Watkins Glen collection. And I know there are people out there that do. There's a guy that reaches out to me every once in a while, and he's in Sebring. He's got a store in Sebring. And so he's always looking for Sebring cars. And you could make your own version of a Sebring car. You could buy a couple of these white versions and make a couple different cars. And that's kind of cool. You know, if you're really into RC, the Cola, Royal Crown Cola, or Brumos. I got the Brumos decals right here too. There's so many different versions you can make here. At 1973 season placement and races entered for 1973 Can-Am season. So you can make a bunch of different versions, one version of a bunch of different cars. Oh, the poster. Yeah, the poster. I got that at the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I was born in New York City, and I go there reasonably frequently, especially to go to, I had been going to trade shows, and we would go to museums sometimes. And if Robert from LEB is here, feel free to pipe up. They've made these decals are exclusive to them. If there's a dealer out there that wanted to buy them, I'm sure that, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I'd be surprised if LEB wouldn't sell these to a dealer. But maybe they won't. But regardless, LEB is really giving us some not only great decals, not just a plain sheet of decals. Not everyone. Some people just do this. And that's fine. This is what we expect, right? When we get a sheet of decals. That's what you expect. You don't expect this. You don't expect to figure out exactly where everything goes for a bunch of different cars for a whole bunch of different races. Look at this. This is insane. This is really cool. How much are they? They're not terribly expensive. Let me go to LEB's site here. LEB.com. Accessories, slot car parts. Let me see. Are there... decals. There we go. LEB Hobbies decals. Wow. These are a bargain. $7.99. $7.99. This is insane. There you go. $7.99. These should be, I don't know, $12 at least. Stockcar Man Cave. Thanks for showing up, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, so that's a direct link to the decals. $7.99, please. That's a steal. Yeah, exactly. So what else are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about oddball cars, right? So the three-wheeler is, something that those of us that liked the original version of Top Gear, because the new version is crap, let's face it. The original version of Top Gear did a whole show dedicated to the Reliant Robin, right? This is a Regal, I think. I'm not really much of a Reliant expert, as you can tell. So they did the whole show where these cars just kept on dumping over, falling over forward, and they would wreck them and flip them back over, keep on driving. Pretty funny little car. Pretty bad design, right? Very British design. But so when I was still at Hornby and they mentioned to me, we were in the meeting, and they were showing us all these slides in a PowerPoint of what cars we were going to make for the next year. Hey, Ronaldo, thanks very much for showing up from Miami. Awesome, man. Thank you. So they mentioned to me, okay, so they're showing me all these slides of cars they're going to make. They showed the Jaguar. They showed, Camaro. And I was like, okay. And they said, okay, now we're going to show you a car. And I'm like, oh boy, what? And they showed this, the three-wheeler, the Reliant. And I thought, immediately oh God, what a waste of a mold, right? This isn't going to sell outside the UK, which I still agree with. I still believe it's not going to sell much, not going to sell enough outside the UK to really make this a viable car. Gold really should be a meme. Yeah, maybe I'll make a meme out of it. I have one. I make memes. I have a meme generator. But this car, and then watching or looking at this other car at the Capri, which is also a new mold, has a powerful motor. Oh God, yeah, it's got the slim can. Oh man, I didn't even look at it. It's got a slim can. This thing is going to be so ridiculously overpowered, unless they change the motor, which I believe they may do at some point, change it to a slower motor. So I broke open the set that these two were in. This is the Horses and Fools set. First of all, the Capri looks really nice. I'm not much of a fan of the Capri. I mean, it's not an American car. This would be, definitely a very British car. But I immediately reacted to, you see the pink bits on it? I remember back in the 90s, I guess, late 80s, when I was in high school and college, like these Dayglow accessories for your car, like the mirrors covers, and especially like wiper arm covers and things like that. This was like a trend for folks to do, like to personalize your car. You could get all kinds of colors. The older guys will remember this. And they all look terrible, but everyone did it, or a lot of people did it. I didn't do it. But immediately I thought, all right, okay, I identify with what's going on there, right? And these cars really evoke the memory of an era, right? And especially that TV show. Now, I've never watched the TV show, but I get why they would do this. And it felt authentic to me. It felt real to me in a way that I could identify with, even if I didn't like either of these cars. And I don't think these cars are great for the world market. I don't. I think they're good enough for the world market. Because, I mean, this car is definitely iconic. This car, even less. I know there's plenty of Capri fans out there. If you're a Capri fan, I'm sorry, but they're just not that popular a car worldwide. But this definitely brought back a lot of memories of that time of my life here, because I could identify with the pink bits on this car and the crazy personalizations. So the fact that they're making this car in this set it's just to collect, of course, but it's also to play with. These are toys. We're playing with these guys. Regardless if you're racing and you take it seriously, it's not, nobody's doing this for money. This is play, and it's okay to play with stuff, guys. Even if you're an adult. I'm 51. Who doesn't want to play? It's okay to play. But these cars are really important for their market, right? It's definitely, look out, Wall, totally, yeah. It's really, the finish on this car is really nice. It's more of a matte finish, and it's weathered, or, well, it's not, it's made to look weathered. I think that these are water slides. These are decals to decorate this. I doubt this is tampo printing. Well, I mean, maybe it might be. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks like there's a seam here that I can see. Yeah, I mean, who knows? And it doesn't really, frankly, matter because decals now are as good or better than tampo printing. This is just, it's a fun little car. And I can see these being on a track for scenery. There you go. There's a nice detailed shot of it. You can really see some nice the detail on these things. I can totally see this on a track for like little scenic kinds of extra cars on a track. And that's where I think the hobby's definitely been lacking a little bit, is like the extra stuff around a track. I know there are some companies that make buildings, and you can buy plenty of trees. You don't necessarily need to buy really tall trees because trees grow. So if you're buying scenic trees, you can get little ones and they're, new trees, right? They're saplings. And you can put them around your track, and then you can get all different sizes of trees. Well, I kind of look at this car and this mold in general as one of these little, okay, it's great for England, right? Of course. But, you could have this around your track and it would be a fun little van, a little silly little van to play with. And I think, yeah, exactly, DeFingers, exactly. This is like, cute little thing, and that's okay. I mean, it's a fun little car. And I think that, it's important to have that kind of stuff around a track. I mean, some people, I agree, Dawson, you're right. They should make JDM cars. I don't know if they will. I had been encouraging to do some. My own track. So I have a wood track here at my house. It's kind of covered with stuff. It's not really, and more importantly, my garage is not a great place to shoot. Kind of ugly in there. And I have pictures of my wood track that I'll show at some point. And the club track, I mean, I've put videos on my YouTube channel of me racing at the club where you can see the club track or one of the club tracks. And I've done videos at Clem's track. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of videos about the tracks that I've raced on at my club. That one between drift cars. Yeah, I mean, why not? So that's kind of about these the horses and fools cars, right? It's not aimed at us, the U.S. market. I'm sorry. There's plenty of other people here, not from the U.S. And I don't mean to, not talk to you guys too, but this is not. These two are aimed only really at the UK market. Let's be honest, and that's fine. I don't begrudge a business making money. This is not a charity. This is a business. They need to make money. Their financial problems are well documented. Hornby, that is, they've had issues for years now. They've had massive amounts of turnover in staff, especially staff at the top. So they need to make money, and that's fine. Digital chip availability. Yes, I know. I am going to reach out to some friends in the industry to ask them if that's still the case. I believe it is still the case, right? That I don't have any reason to believe that chips are going to be more plentiful because cars are still in very short supply, real cars, and camera gear, because I'm a photographer, camera gear is in very short supply. New camera gear is. There have been a number of the biggest camera companies, Sony and Canon and Nikon, that have been releasing new gear because they release new cameras and lenses each year, and they're having chip issues. They're having shortage issues with microprocessors, and they can't release the gear that they've been planning because, as you know, this is an Olympic year. The Olympics are going on right now, actually, and normally when there's an Olympics, a fast camera is released, a pro digital camera is released that is good for sports, and usually long lenses are released now every couple of years. You know, really long lenses are real expensive. So the fact that camera gear is also in very short supply, new camera gear, and real cars. I mean, you know, the best, the biggest user of microchips would be like computers and car companies and home electronics companies like cameras. So I would assume that you know, the slot car companies, being fairly small companies, are going to have access to parts. They're going to be further back in the line because they're much smaller companies like than Canon or Nikon or Sony or General Motors or Ford or Jeep or whoever. You know, there's still a massive shortage. So, yeah. So mid-90s Jaguar, the XJS. Well, I mean, I do like the XJ. Do I know about the new Revoslot CLK issues? No, sorry, I don't have one. I only have one Revoslot that LEB sent me. Thank you again, LEB. It was a Porsche Evo GT1, and I haven't driven it yet because I don't really have a big enough track, or I don't really have a track here at my house. I will put up a plastic track this winter in my garage, and I will be doing videos from home on a polycar track, but I don't know. I haven't heard about any Revoslot issues. I'm sorry. So what can we say about this car? It's a low, wide car. Well, not too wide. It's pretty low. It's got the nice Jaguar logo in there. Hornby is going to be doing a lot of this with new molds. They're going to be putting the logo right in the bottom of the car for the cooling holes. And I think that's really cool. I like that idea quite a bit. It's got a DPR door for those people that like to do digital. I'm not a digital person at home. I've raced plenty of digital. Any word on modular tracks for 132? Jeff asked that question. So, Jeff, there are definitely modular tracks. Harrell makes modular track that's kind of like a I guess you would say wood equivalent kind of a track. It's really high quality. From what I know, it's quite expensive. I haven't really researched it because I have plastic track and I have a wood track here at my house, so I don't really follow the Harrell releases. I probably should. And yeah, I probably need to just because, you know, people ask about that here. So, water, guys. So I need to find out pricing on Harrell, that sort of thing. And there was a company years ago, Slotfire. They made large sections of track, like each section was a couple feet long. Hey, Clifton. Max Tracks. Don't know Max Tracks. Modular track. It would just be pieces, but I think he's referring to, yes, it is inline. It is inline, yes. Larger modular pieces of non-plastic track. Yes, Slotfire, big money. Yeah, but I mean, it looks fantastic. You know, and I mean, of course, there's Slot Mods track, but, you know, that's the price of a car at least to get a Slot Mods track. Even a small Slot Mods track is quite expensive. I don't even know, nearly 10 grand, $5,000 for a tiny track, if they'll even do that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so the Jaguar is a really nice looking car. If you're into Jags, you need to get this car. The detail on the back is really nice. The detail from the side is really nice. It's a British car. They did a really good job with this release, with the mold. It looks really nice. I'm definitely not an expert on this car, but when I look at it, I think it looks just like it should. But again, I'm not an expert on the car. I mean, I've seen plenty of these. We have plenty of this kind of car in the U.S. The rims are okay. The detail is fantastic on the rims. It's not that. I'd like a little more of an offset. Now, I don't know. This probably is correct for this car. They look right on this car. They don't look right on the Camaro. I'm going to just say that. I'm not saying, the model isn't nice on the Camaro, but they should be deeper dish. And that really, it bothers me. It kind of bothers me the way that looks, because I'm a Camaro fan, and I owned a Camaro, 76 Camaro, and then I owned a 79 Trans Am, a gold one. And they use these wheels on the new Camaro, and I don't know, it just doesn't look right. It doesn't take away too much from the release for the car for me, because the rest of the car just looks so stunning. I mean, the detail on the Camaro looks just, it's like it's on the money. They really got the look, the angular look of the nose. It just looks. You need a donk car with those. Need deeper dish up. No donk. We don't do donk here. Modular track is large sections, can be configured in multiple. Yeah, so it's sectional track. It's just made in maybe larger sections with a different material other than just plastic, or maybe it is plastic, but it's like larger sections, right? Not just, pieces that are maybe a foot or so long. So yeah, we got 34 people here, 9 likes. I appreciate all the likes, guys. That definitely helps. The more likes the video gets, the more YouTube will bump it up for people to see. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody stopping by on a Sunday. I got a baseball game I'm going to. It's 11:30. Got a baseball game I'm going to this afternoon. That's why I'm wearing the cross cutter shirt. That's the team that I'm the team photographer for. And we have a Sunday game, starts at 5 o'clock. So I got to be at the park 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock is probably batting practice. So I'll probably have some lunch and then go right to the park and be there by about noon or so, or 1 or so. What's your forecast for Carrera in the U.S.? Will we see more product since Europe is the biggest foot? Hey, Christian. Hello, John D. Thank you very much for showing up in Melbourne. My aunt lives in Melbourne. She's she's a cook in a children's hospital in Melbourne. Forecast, will we see more products since Europe has the biggest market footprint there? So Carrera, over the years, I have not received the Lotus samples yet. Thank you, Robert. I'm getting cars. I think maybe 3 cars from SRC, and what else? No. Oh, so, since the ownership has changed for Carrera, I don't see any. I mean, who knows? I don't know the ownership. I'll be perfectly honest with you. What I can say is, over time, Carrera has released less and less and less cars. They've sold more, but they've released less different cars than they had years ago. So around 2002, 2003, 2004, there was a lot of different cars in the catalog, right? So, and you can just look at the catalogs and see this. So the catalog might have had 40 different cars in it, let's say. Each year there would be maybe 20 to 30 new cars, and there would be overall, there would be some carryover. So there'd be maybe 40 or so total cars. Okay. Gradually then over the years, what I saw, and I did a report about this for Carrera when I worked there, about how they released fewer different cars each year, okay? Fewer different sets each year. So the year that I did the report for them, let's say early in the report, like 2005, let's just pick a number. Let's say there were 40 cars in the catalog. Then each year that gradually went down to 2017, which is the last time I worked there. That year, I think there was maybe 20 new cars, and there was only 2 or 3 American cars, as opposed to nearly 20 American cars years ago, back when there was the boss before my boss, from up to about 2009, 2010, there was a different guy at Carrera of America, and he pushed for more American cars, and he got them. The problem is a lot of them didn't sell very well, like the Fury and some of the, very the 57 Chevy sold okay, but not in the street versions. They sold really badly. When they used to have done a lot of American cars, gradually they had released fewer American cars. Oh, hey, Harry, Christian. What's strange is that Carrera had closed the big hall where they had the Carrera Challenge, and some events. I can't remember. I believe it was in Nuremberg. They closed Carrera World. That doesn't surprise me. Carrera World was a giant money suck. It never made the money. It cost them a tremendous amount of money. They had done a lot of renovation to the building. I had heard from a number of people that was a huge drain of money for the company, and they got very little out of it. There wasn't really the demand for it, and it was made by Andreas Stadelbauer. Shortly after his dad died, Dr. Stadelbauer was the owner of the company, and his son Andreas and his daughter, I forget her name, and I've met her a million times. They kind of all operated the company together, and Andreas became the head of the company when Dr. Stadelbauer died. And then basically he sold to the current people. Then he sold to Revell, Germany, and they're in charge of it now. And I'm not surprised they closed it, because that Carrera World was a colossal waste of money and time. So I don't see them making more American stuff. I do see them, making a car or two, new mold, a car or two, like maybe one a year at the most. But they're just going to use, if they're smart, they're just going to keep using the molds that they have, right? That's what they should. That's what they should do, is use the molds. They have a lot of different molds, and they actually still have them, unlike Scalextric, who dumped a lot of their molds fairly recently. A lot of the molds were destroyed by some of the last people that were in charge of the company. They had all these molds stored, and they moved from owning the buildings where they were stored and owning the buildings where they had their company. They sold off to try to cut all the losses that they had. They had a whole lot of inventory, a whole lot of overhead, I should say, because they had a lot of real estate in England, a lot of buildings in England that were, being partially used or whatever. So the buildings were, this tremendous amount of of overhead for them. So they wanted to get rid of the building. So, and because they got rid of the building, they got rid of all these molds. So a lot of fairly recent molds, like the Torino that Skelectric had done, the Gurney Eagle, the RS Spider, a lot of American molds, a lot of molds in general were just trashed. So they don't even exist anymore. So a lot of the stuff. Good morning, hello, Robert. So they can't make fairly recent cars anymore that they had made. Oh boy, we got a bunch of questions here. Can you post routed tracks for sale for the members? I mean, I don't really have a message board. You're welcome to post them here on my channel if you want to in the community tab. You're welcome to. I don't have a website. I don't really have a business page other than this, so I don't really have the ability to post or to have like a for sale area. So I'm sorry. Paolo, hey Paolo, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. Is there a Carrera power base comparable to the Skelectric? Okay, yes. So Carrera's wireless analog power base is the power base for now see, because ARC is the app, and to use the app, as far as I remember now in Carrera, you need to use digital, right? You can't use the app with analog unless that's changed. So no, there is wireless for analog for Carrera, but not app and wireless for analog for Carrera. Obviously there is for Skelectric, because that's ARC means app race control, air means wireless, and unless it says pro is the word that Skelectric uses for digital. Got all that? It's a terrible naming system. Not many people understand it. Their dealers don't understand it. Their dealers will admit that. They will even admit that. They don't want to hear me, or they don't want to say that they'll admit that, but they will. So we got a lot of questions here. A lot of routed track questions. You guys are talking amongst each other. That's cool. DeFingers asked, do you think the pandemic helped push the hobby sales overall or just hurt the hobby? It absolutely did help the hobby, 100%. I've talked to a number of dealers. I mean, I talked with LEB, of course. She's been busy the whole time. She and Robert have been busy the whole time. I'm sure it's helped their sales. I'm sure I've talked with other dealers. I've talked with GT Slots, GT Slot Cars, Rich Schanfeld in Philadelphia. Obviously, I talked with Rich because I made the CUDAs for Rich, the SCX CUDAs. And he was busy the entire time through the pandemic. And it was tough because he couldn't have his wife and his son, and he do a lot of the picking and packing. And then he has a woman working with him that I used to work with at Carrera. Her name is Holly, and she works with him, but she didn't work during the pandemic early on just because other people were worried about being sick. So, and Rich was very careful about that. So he wanted to, so he didn't really, what am I trying to say here? It's a long way around. Yes. I'm an old man. I get distracted easily. Chuck. Hey, Chuck. Thanks for showing up. Good morning, Dave. It seems a real shame that the molds were trashed. Is that typical? No, Chuck. This is atypical. Yes, it's a crime as far as I'm concerned. That's being facetious. Of course, it's not a crime, but it's really, really, really terrible that they did that. It takes away the possibility of them making more Torinos, which I'm sure would sell, more RS Spiders, which I'm not really sure would sell, but they could redo some of the stuff. There will be no more Gurney Eagles. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. There was a number of other cars that they trashed as well, not just those three. It was a lot. It was terrible. Nothing to say about it other than that. Cheers, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks to everyone that's shown up. We're not done yet. Don't worry. Just want to. The Office of Commerce is reminding me. The Office of Commerce is nobody. Is reminding me that if you want a mug, you can get one through that link. I appreciate it. John just sent me a tip. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Through my Buy Me a Coffee. I hate to, well, I really appreciate the tips. If you want to give me a tip, that's how you do it, through Buy Me a Coffee. It's like sending me $5 or sending me $5 increments, whatever. It means a lot because, I take time to do this, and the streams and the videos and things like that. It's it takes time to do, and I appreciate the tips. It's I never thought I'd get 40 some people to show up to watch lumpy little old man talk about toy cars, but I really appreciate it. Okay, so the Fingers asks, do they shred the mold, crush, or by other means destroy the mold? Yes, so molds are steel, so they melt them down. There you go. Their molds are quite large. There's really, I don't know mold stuff, but I've seen a bunch of slot car molds, and even for tiny little parts, the steel piece is huge, and then there's the little tiny bit inside where they put the pieces of the sections of steel together, and inside the cavity is the mold, and they squish plastic in there. Very technical, I know. They squish plastic in there, and Viola, there's a slot car part. Hello, Crit Keeper. Good morning, Dave. Did I think you mean Carrera get rid of the NASCAR Chevy SS mold? So I don't know, because I don't really talk to Carrera these days. I could ask. I'm sure there's somebody that probably would answer that. They're not in the habit of getting rid of molds. Just by and large, I would say that most companies really don't get rid of a mold unless it's bad or unless it's really old. And molds last a long, long, long time, like decades. And I can prove this. So Carrera has the Superbirds, right? And the Torinos, right? They still make them. That's the same mold they've had since the early 2000s. They've kept that mold in production. Scalextric has made the first generation Camaro and the Boss Mustang forever, right? They kept those molds. They've been making those molds since early 2000s, so 20 years, nearly. They've been making those molds. So generally speaking, no. Generally speaking, companies keep molds because they're really expensive to cut a mold. Now, it's gotten cheaper. This is why, when I talk about production quantities and things like that, why the first place to talk about, if you're talking about, what cars should a market make, you need to know what a mold costs, because that is where you base all of the decision making. Is you start as, let's say you're going to make this little nugget, right? This little ridiculous car. Let's say you're going to make this car. You need to make this make money. Duh. This is a business. We're making money here, right? This is not a charity. So Scalextric, you have a mold, or they want to make a mold for this car. They do an analysis, which sometimes is just going around the room asking people, do you think this would sell? If all of them say yes, then they're likely to make the mold. There's no real market research done, despite what you might think. The market research is generally anecdotal. People passing along what they know. That's why they had people like me in this market, and I would help pick molds. Okay, so let's say you want to make this mold, right? Or you want to make this car. You need to make a bunch of different liveries of this car to make the mold make money. So cars, let's say this mold cost, old molds that I had heard numbers for, like when I worked for Carrera, 124 scale molds would cost nearly $100,000. The car is large. The mold needs to be a certain size. The detail of the parts, it means that there's a lot of different parts to make. So that takes a lot of money. So now I think mold costs have gone down, and there are plenty of people that say that I'm wrong about this, but I know for a fact numbers that I was told years and years ago. So let's say this mold, and this is just a guessing, let's say this mold costs $60,000. That's even before you get a license, you make cars, because there's costs associated with all that, you ship cars. You're talking about a tremendous amount of money to make one mold. You have to make a number of different decorations from each mold to make a car make money. Of course, what does that mean? That means that you can't have cars that didn't have a lot of different liveries on them. So something like a Shadow, a Can-Am Shadow springs to mind, or Old Yeller, or Buick Grand National, cars that were only in essentially one color for one correct body shape, right? You're never going to make all of the cost back out of a mold, plus the cost of making the car, shipping the car, producing the car, researching the car. You're never going to make all that money back. You're just not, because you're not going to make, the mold cost has got to be amortized through all of the molds. So you got to make, I had heard a number of 6 different liveries of about 10,000 pieces of each mold use, of each decoration, basically. Now, that far exceeds the number of cars that you'll sell here in the U.S. A really good car in the U.S. from a 1/32 scale company is going to sell 2,000 pieces. So if you're going to sell 2,000 pieces of a mold, 2,000 pieces of a decoration, one specific decoration, one color, one use, basically, of a mold, you're going to have to make, okay, so you're going to sell a car, you're going to make, let's say, you're going to sell a car for $40. You're going to make maybe 10 to 20% profit on each car, maybe, if you're a company. So you have to make so many molds, so many decorations of each car. That's why it's impossible to make cars that are, or low runs of cars, small numbers of cars, less than 2,000. They get to be so expensive. And that's why you see some of the smaller companies, their prices are high, because you just can't make money on low numbers, on low quantities of decorations. So the Chaparral is, I'm not sure what you mean by the exception. Chaparral is not an exception. No one's made money on a Chaparral. Scale Electric Chaparral, I believe, is gone as well. That mold is gone as well. Chaparrals don't sell well. They're all white. You're never going to make money from a Chaparral. They just don't sell well here in the U.S. They don't. I know for a fact that no one's made money, to the best of my knowledge, on making a Chaparral. Nope. But generally, who knows about the process of molding parts? Who knows the process of molding parts? Well, I mean, I've talked to, I've worked for companies, and the story is the same for each company. They all work on the same basic mathematics. You have to make, okay, Dave, you want to make the IROC. We're going to have to make 2,000 pieces of the IROC. This is what I was told. You're going to have to take 2,000 pieces of each decoration of the IROC. You're going to have to commit to at least 2 of them a year for 5 years. So that's what I was told for the IROC. And I said, yeah, go ahead, make it. And I thought it was a fairly substantial risk because I don't know that they can sell 2,000 pieces of an IROC each year just here or total worldwide. They're going to have to, it's going to be tough to do that. Puerto Rican collector asks, what is the usual RPM for Scalextric stock motors? About 20,000 RPM. Came with 19 and 21,000 RPM ES. The difference between 19 and 21,000 RPM there's no difference. What do I mean by that? The production variation in a motor is about 10%. So you'll get plus or minus at least 2,000 RPM in each direction. So the slot car motors, if it's an 18,000 slot car motor, it may be as high as 23,000. It may be as low as 16,000. And then that depends on how you're measuring it, right? Okay. Also, I'll give you a link here to blogspot.com/order-list. Is this right? No, it's not right. Okay, so my blog, Slot Car News, was one of the first slot car blogs. And we had this thing called the Motor List. And news motor list. There we go. I'm getting you a link here, guys. So my uncle, Rob Livingston, had done pretty much the first testing of slot car motors in the modern era. My uncle Rob is basically like my dad because my parents were divorced when I was young. So my uncle did all this testing you see here. A lot of the testing was appropriated, and that's fine with permission. And now it's basically been cut and pasted all over the internet. There's a fairly notable slot car retailer that out and out stole this information and didn't give us credit for it. They just cut and pasted, and my uncle has a very specific way of writing, and we could tell it was obvious that they just stole this information from us without giving us credit or asking permission. We would have given them permission, but they just ripped it off and then denied having stole it, and were actually very rude about it. And this is one of the retailers that I do not work with and never will. They cut and pasted it, and they said in the reply that this was available from publicly available information on the internet. So yeah, thanks for stealing my information, my uncle's information, without permission. Yes, exactly. With just like ask, we would have said yes, but then don't deny it and then be rude about it. That's the point. If they just would have stolen it and they said, "Yeah, okay, we're sorry. Yes, we should have asked." It's just a courtesy. Don't be a dick. It's not that hard. Don't be a dick. But they were. Rant over. How can Carrera justify making 143rd F1 cars and not making 132 and 124? Okay, well, they do make 132, 124. It's a mold cost issue. Okay, Mark? So if you're making 143rd, you can sell way more 143rd scale cars because the mold cost is maybe a quarter of what it would be if it were 124 scale. The production cost is maybe a quarter of what it would be. The retail cost is 80% less than it would be if it were a 124 scale F1 car. You can't sell Okay, in the U.S., when I was working for Carrera, we would sell 8,000, 6,000 of a 143rd scale, single 143rd scale car, a good one. An F1 car, we might sell 2,000 or 3,000 of them, a good one. A 124 scale car here in the U.S., we would, of a good 124 scale car, we would sell maybe 300 of a good 124 scale car. So you're talking 10% of the same quantity we would sell a 24 scale car compared to a 143rd scale car. The cost of a 124 scale car, an F1 124 scale car would be astronomical, the mold cost. And you can only use an F1 mold for about a year of actual mold. So maybe you'll get 2 uses out of an F1 mold before the company says, okay, the real company like Ferrari or Mercedes will say, you can't use that mold anymore. You need to make the newest car because that's the one we want to promote is the newest car. Hey, there's a little spit. So, how can that going to justify making any 124 scale cars? Why did they make 124 scale? Because it was a pet project of the owner of Carrera at the time. Dr. Stadelbauer loved 124 scale. We never made money on 124 scale cars. I'm pretty sure they didn't make money on the 124 scale molds, even in Germany. They lost money on them. They made them because the owner of the company wanted to make them. He would always say, why do we make 124 scale cars? And he would say, well, it's my sandbox. These are my toys. No, it's not a license issue. It's a mold cost issue and a volume issue. You're just not going to sell that many 124 scale cars if they're this big. First of all, you'd have to make another case for them. A 124 scale car F1 car wouldn't fit in the current cases. So you'd have to make another case. What does that mean? You'd have to make another master pack box. What does that mean? You have to change all of these other behind the scenes kind of things. And you think, well, the cost of that is minimal. It's not. Stocking different size boxes is expensive. Just in the production of different size boxes is expensive. The mold cost is just frighteningly expensive. I had asked about that. I had asked about making 124 scale F1 cars. No. It's not just inventory. It's not just holding the cars. It's making them. It's making the mold. It's everything about the production of 124 scale loses money. They don't make money from it. That's why you see so few new cars. That's why you see maybe a new set each year. How is John D asks, how is Pioneer shifting production from China to England working out? Thank you, John. So I don't really talk much with Pioneer. Jules and I had an issue on Home Racing World on the message board. He doesn't like me. He doesn't like me talking about costs of things. He thought that was a mistake that I talk about how much this or that kind of thing costs companies to make. He didn't like me talking about the fact that white kits don't sell very well. He got all over me about that. And he did this in public, and he was really rude about it. So I don't really talk much about Pioneer. I have no contact with Jules. And yeah, I mean, he makes great cars. I love Pioneer's cars. I always have and I always will. I don't really see much news from them. If I got news from them, I, of course, would share it because they're part of the industry and they make excellent cars. But I don't really talk to Jules. So, I mean, he can answer that. There are plenty of ways you can ask him. He has message boards on Facebook and I'm sure it seems like it's done well for him. I mean, it is what it is. He's still making cars, so I assume, if you're still making cars, you're still in business, and it's worked out for him. And you have a lot more control if you take things out of China. I don't hate on China. I think China is a pretty interesting place, and it's a necessity that most companies just have to make things in China because the production costs are so low there that people don't really have a choice. I get that, and that makes sense. And taking molds out of China, which is nearly impossible, taking them back to England, where all of the production costs would be considerably higher than making anything in China. Production costs in China is minimal, although getting more expensive. Shipping from China, as we all know, is difficult and expensive. And Monty says we tried very hard to avoid China. Monty makes the Digital Racing Solutions products. If you need lots of really cool, very niche products, visit digitalracingsolutions.com. Make an excellent controller. I've done a video about that. Yes, they tried very hard to avoid China because it's difficult to do business in China. And it's distasteful, frankly. So, Dean John. How about the new Fly Club? Do you have any input on it? I haven't joined yet. I do plan on joining. I like the idea of getting, not that I'm a huge collector, but I like the idea of supporting a company that does something like this. So that's why I would join. I like Fly. I like the people that own Fly. I've met them a number of times. They're good folks. Fly make unique cars, and they always have. I like the idea of supporting a smaller company, and I like the idea of getting exclusive content, whether that is pictures, behind the scenes pictures, and I need to be a little better about that too. I don't really post, like, for me, behind the scenes stuff, but from what I gather, that's one of the things that you will get is, like, you'll get a look inside the company, you'll get a look at kind of how they do what they do. And would I join the Fly Club? Yeah, I will. It doesn't really matter to me what it costs. If it's $100 a year, I would do that. I like the idea of supporting a company directly, if I can, because it's not a big industry, and pretty much every company needs the support of people like us that are involved in the hobby, and that people that are involved in the hobby. And I think it's worth it. If you like a company, it's a personal issue with Pioneer or whatever, would that prevent me from buying one of their cars? Hell no. Their cars are so cool. And they all of them are worth collecting. They just are. Every one of the companies, I think, if you like their car, that's you should buy them. Robert W. asks, have you ever considered becoming a slot car e-tailer? Yes. Years ago, one of the first things I discussed with my uncle when I started my blog, Slot Car News, or before I started my blog, Slot Car News, I knew I wanted to be, and this was in early 2000s. This was when I was one of the main moderators on Slot Car Illustrated. I saw that there was, and this is when the slot car industry was growing rapidly in the early 2000s, right? And I thought about being a retailer. I thought about maybe specializing in, like, just Porsche or something like that. Porsche slot cars. My uncle and I talked about that. Because he and I were going to kind of go in business together. But we knew, like, I didn't know that would be the best business model to put into an effort to get into the business, right? So I I've always been a newspaper guy. I've worked for newspapers, and that's what I do now for a full-time job. Um, Again, I had been in newspapers at the time in the early 2000s, and so my uncle and I, we thought, well, what can we do with the slot car hobby where we don't really have to invest money or carry inventory, and we could do something that would be something valuable to the hobby. And I realized at the time, because I was posting, one of the things I was doing was posting news, the press release photos from Carrera or SCX at the time, or anybody about their product releases. So I knew that there was a lot of interest in new product releases from slot car companies, right? So I decided that, and he and I decided that doing a blog, doing a news magazine in digital form was probably the best use of my ability, my time. So that's why I started the blog Slot Car News, slotcarnews.blogspot.com. I own the blog. I don't really post there much. I'd rather post on YouTube like I do, or on Facebook. And I don't want to have an external site that people go to. I want to be part of a community of things. And that's why I'm do so much on YouTube now, because it's more based in a community, right? So we decided that we could get information and distribute that information, and that the information would be what I would be doing. That's how Slot Car News came to be, is I would be using other people's content, packaging it, if you will, presenting it as the news, because that's what news organizations do, is they just kind of aggregate information, redo it in some form, and then show it to a wider audience, hopefully, and that's the news. So hence Slot Car News. I wanted the website, the blog, to have a kind of the feel of a newspaper. And at the time, it was more of that feel, the template that's used now. And again, I don't really post there much anymore, or I don't really post there anymore. The template that I used at the time was more like a newspaper cascading style sheet. So I realized once I lost my job at Hornby during the pandemic last year, that I could post news in a video form, and probably that would get watched. Who knew? Yes, it gets watched. 2,000 or so people a week, maybe a little more, watch the videos that I do. And, it takes me a little while to do the videos. It takes me, all week to research and to see, I'm on Facebook all the time for my job. So anyway, because I'm digital marketing manager for the company, we do a lot of posting on social media, so I can keep an eye on things. So that's how I decided, rather than do retail, because I knew a lot of people were doing retail, that I wanted to have a different approach to be in the industry as sort of a business, but I would do news rather than sell products. I would sell news. That's the wrong way to look at it, but news would be what I would be promoting, let's say. Okay, so hello, Kyle. Good morning, Dave. Latecomer today. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you very much for stopping. I appreciate it. Do you know anywhere to get a Fly Buggyra chassis? Yeah, the Fly trucks. No. Well, yes, probably on Shapeways. As a guess, I would assume that they have chassis on Shapeways. Parts don't sell very well. I've talked about this a lot in my videos, that parts just really don't sell. And you have to have a lot of parts in stock to kind of have what a lot of people want if you do want to sell parts. So if you have, let's say you want parts for these cars, 3 new Skeletor cars. Well, all the tires are different. Nearly all the motors are different. The chassis are all different. The tires are all different. The guides are all the same. The brushes are all the same. The little parts, the wing mirrors, they're all different. Everything is different. Every significant part is different except the motor and the brushes, right? And the guide piece. So you need to stock, let's say the chassis for this car has something specific to the yellow one. Well, you got to stock the chassis for the yellow one, the Golf one, and each different one. Because some of the chassis are like a different color. So like this one, the new Capri, right? So this chassis part has this little tiny piece of green on it. So if they release a blue one, they need to stock the chassis for the green one, the chassis for the blue one. And if you have a green one, you're not going to buy the chassis for the blue one, right? So that's a problem. And as a retailer, you got to stock the chassis for the green one, the chassis for the blue one, the chassis for this or that. So it's a nightmare trying to stock parts. Parts are a nightmare regardless. I'm going to be wrapping it up soon here, guys, because I've gone over an hour. Normally, I try to keep it to about an hour. 62 people. Thank you very much for stopping by, guys. Not ending yet. And 23 likes. Thank you very much for liking the video. It's how YouTube decides to show a video to other people in the you might like, the suggested category. So all the likes help me as the content creator to get more people to see the video. So please like it if you want to like it. If you think I'm doing a bad job, let me know, please, what I could do better. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. So Christian says, on that note, thanks, Dave, for doing research on slot car news. I appreciate that. It does take time. I don't want to overstate too much. It does take me time. I love doing it. That's why I do it. I could be doing other things. I could be out fixing my lawn. There's a lot of things I can do. Okay, a bunch of questions or a bunch of just comments here. Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate it. Since Skeletor put out the Lotus 25 and Sharkness Ferrari, any other 60s F1s in the pipeline? So thank you very much, Chuck, for asking that. So if I did know, I wouldn't say, because I don't want to upset Hornby, and I don't want to, take their thunder away by saying what they might do. I also, because I don't work for the company anymore, I don't know 100% if the things that I know that they're going to come out with, like next year, they will be coming out with, because I don't work there anymore. So I can't say for sure. So I'm not going to say. So not only do I not want to upset them, even though I don't work there anymore, I don't want to lead folks astray. I don't want to say, hey, they're going to come out with this, and then they don't come out with it, and then people get upset at me and upset at them, and I've created the problem. So it just means it doesn't make any sense for me to for me to say, hey, this. They're going to come out with this. They're going to come out with that. So that's the tip jar. If you want to send me a tip, it's through the Buy Me a Coffee. It's easy. It's linked through PayPal or a credit card, I would assume, and $5 increments. And I do get most of that. It's great. I really do appreciate it. Anyone that sends me a tip, because you all don't have to send it to me. I don't expect people to send me tips. It's very much appreciated. Over the last few years, because I've gone from different jobs and now working back in the newspaper, my pay pay has gone down considerably. Not that I was making a ton of money at Hornby, but it cut down by about 50% taking the job that I have now. So yeah, I mean, I really appreciate the tips. And you know, I think it's fantastic. So Chuck did ask, he mentioned the shark nose. They don't have that mold either anymore. No more shark nose Ferraris. I would think, as a guess, and I'm not saying for sure one way or the other. This is not a hint. They know, Scalextric, know that their vintage F1s sell well. They know this, of course. They sell well here in the U.S. The non-wing cars, so the slightly older F1s, sell better than the slightly newer, like the double wing Lotus or whatever. So the cigar car, the cigar car type of car, those cars do sell quite well. They know this, so I would think that they would keep making them. I mean, it makes sense. I know that the six-wheeler has sold well. I know I actually have the triple pack of the what is it? The new triple pack of vintage F1s was sent to me. I haven't opened it yet. I was going to do an unboxing video over that. I haven't even opened the box yet. Cheers, everybody. Appreciate it. So, those vintage F1s do sell quite well. They sell quite well here in the U.S., sell well all over the world, as far as I know. So, yeah, I mean, are they going to keep making them? They'd be stupid not to. They're not stupid people. They're going to keep making them. That's my guess. Dennis, best thing for this industry, and it's only a matter of time. I appreciate that, Dennis. I appreciate the kind words. It was difficult to get let go, of course. If I had the opportunity, I guess I would work for another company. I mean, I do. Obviously, plenty of people know I do work for LEB. I'm a consultant for LEB. I don't work for them. I do work for Slot and Polycar, which is the same company. I help manage their Facebook page. I do most of the posts there, and I manage the Slot at Polycar Instagram. Pretty much, I'm the only one that does any posts there. And I have a long relationship, a long friendship, I should say, with Maurizio Ferrari, the owner of Slot at Polycar. He's a great guy. He's one of the most stand-up guys I've ever met in any industry. That's why I wanted to work with them so badly. I'm a contractor there as well. They do pay me. I get it's mainly just I like working with them. I get to post things. I get to talk with them about like what projects they're going to be doing. I'm not too deeply involved with them, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I do enjoy the work that I'm doing for the companies. No, he's not the same Maurizio Dean John from BRM. Different Maurizio. Robert asks if Armchair Racer has the Bud Bagheera car or the chassis. Yeah, Armchair Racer in Australia, great company. I used to know the owner of the company. I think he passed away though years ago. They were really nice to me. Very, very friendly folks. Travis from That Slot Car Guy. You got to follow That Slot Car Guy here on YouTube. He's a buddy, and he is supported by Armchair Racer directly, I believe. So please follow him. Please follow them. They're fantastic. I don't know that I would work for another company. I have something. I can't really talk too much about. I have something kind of on the table now to consult for another company, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. Yeah, so I should anyway. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate all the comments. There's a bunch of them here now. Yeah, I mean, thank you. It means quite a bit. Marquis de Sang, hello. Thank you for your period. Ever consider writing a book? So I've thought about doing a photo book about slot cars. I'm not really much of a writer. I'm kind of all over the place when I write. It might be like a learning disability, or I'm dyslexic. So kind of when I write, I put words in the wrong order, and then it's hard for me to. It's just writing is tough. I'm not a very flowery writer. I don't really. I'm not a good writer. I can take pictures. Alan from 132 Slot Car has been trying to build the industry for years. Work with him. Of course, I know Alan. I've met Alan a bunch of times. I've been to Alan's store in Seattle area. I was a moderator on Slot Car Illustrated, and it was a sort of a falling out with Alan that led me to make Slot Car News, my blog. I no longer post on Slot Car Illustrated because of all the issues that they've had with web hosting and sign in, and they had a DNS attack, and they've had a bunch of issues. So I pretty much just post wherever I want to now on Home Racing World and on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm kind of doing my own thing. I don't really, I know Alan. Alan's a good guy. Yes, Alan has been doing his best out there on the West Coast. There's a lot of people that are passionate about the hobby, that want the best for the hobby, and are doing their own thing, like myself and like Harry and like Travis, and there's a lot of us out there doing our own thing to be passionate about the hobby and try to add to the hobby in some positive way. I try not to be negative about the companies and about the people, because there's enough negativity out there, enough BS out there, that I'd rather just be positive and, just be positive, because it means more to me just to kind of support things so than to be negative about things. So, I try to support people who are out to support the hobby. Alan has definitely been doing his thing to support the hobby. Photo book, yes. I've definitely thought about doing a photo book for slot cars. I probably would. The problem is, like anything, to do a self-published book is really expensive. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be able to sell one for less than about 60 or so bucks. Or maybe even nearly $100 and have me make any money on it. Like I can maybe make, maybe $5 a book or $1 a book on something if I price it really low. There's a lot of services out there where you can take your Instagram feed and make it into a book. And those are really cool and they're really easy. The problem is you don't make a lot of money from that. The company that you contract with or whatever makes the money, which is fine. I mean, it's a business. Everyone needs to make money. I don't begrudge people doing that. But I just don't know that me making $5 a book on a $55 book or whatever, because it would be at least that. I've priced it, and they're expensive for, good quality paper, good quality inking, good quality binding. It's expensive, and I don't know that there would be enough of a market if the book were, let's say, $100 and I got to make, let's say, $10 a book for me to do that. So I don't really know that would make sense. Yeah, I mean, I have on my, I have plenty of, if you want to buy my art, there's plenty of that available on this page, on my Pixels page. There are plenty of slot car photos that you can buy there. And again, I only make a couple dollars, like maybe $5 on a picture. And the pictures are like 20 some bucks or 30 some bucks. And the profit margin I set, so I made a little money, is like $5, which is not a lot of money. So, I got to sell thousands of photos for it to make, a decent amount of money for me, or even, 10 photos with me to get, a few dollars. So, it doesn't really seem to, I put the pictures on there and that's fine. People don't have to buy this stuff. They don't have to give me money. It's just, there's a lot of ways to support somebody. Anyway. Yeah, a photo book would be cool. Dean asks, any input on niche slot car makers? So I've heard of slot fabric, and I've heard of MTR 32. I don't really know them very much. Of course, I know Nemes. Nemes, that guy is, there's slot car companies, and then there's Nemes. That's like, Nemes is like, if I was going to buy, a piece of jewelry, if this is the equivalent, or a really nice camera, or, if I was like super into firearms, like collecting, a really nice firearm, or a really nice fishing rod. I'm into slot cars. If I was going to shoot for the stars and like, okay, I'm a huge fan of this or that kind of Can-Am car, and his models, the Nemes models, everyone needs to check out Nemes on Facebook. He makes simply exquisite models. They're very expensive, but they're totally worth it. Made by hand. It's like the guy clearly is like, the guy's a genius, right? He's a master. And I don't use those words lightly. People throw those words around. His work is exquisite. Bar none. Got to be the best looking slot cars. Some of the best looking ever made. I have no relationship with the guy. I don't benefit in any way for this. It's like eye candy. Every single thing he posts, Facebook photos. He's even better. Yes, he is even better. Like, words are simple words. The words. I don't have the words. They're just, it's like he posts a picture of a body that he's working on, right? Or some little piece of photo etch something. It's like every single piece of the slot car is a masterpiece. There's nothing shitty about the car. There's nothing about the car. There's nothing good about the car. They're better than good. Every single piece is better than good. Exquisite. And he's even better than that. That's where I'm going to wrap it up today, folks, on that high note. Because, gotta be positive here, guys. There's a lot of negative shit going on out there. Nemes is a Michelangelo of slot cars. Yes, John, you're right. There's enough negativity out there, guys, and I every once in a while I'll say something, my personal opinion about somebody or whatever, and get a little down. But really, we got to be positive about about slot cars. You got to have positive energy around it. We really do. It's got to be fun. If you're doing this and it's not fun, do something else. I do slot car news because it's fun for me. Not because, it's like this huge moneymaker or whatever. This is not why I do this. I do all of this because I enjoy it. It's how I can contribute to it. And it's fun. Let's face it. It's fun. And this is the way that I try to contribute to it now. And I appreciate everybody stopping by. More than an hour and a half of just looking at my face. Unfortunately, just looking at my face. A cup here and there. a toy car here and there, and whatever else. Thank you very much, everybody, for stopping by. Thanks to the folks that have sent me a tip through the Buy Me a Coffee. It really means a lot. I do these I do live streams most Sundays when I'm able to. I'm going to be eating lunch, going to the baseball park in about maybe hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And follow me on Instagram at Dave M. Kennedy. Here, at Dave M. Kennedy. That my name? Yes, that's my name. There you go. On Instagram, mostly baseball pictures these days, but there's thousands of slot car photos on there. I have more than 3,000 posts on my Instagram. Tons and tons of photos. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. It really means a lot. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody that's had a chat. John, Dean, Dawson, Robert, Marquis, Monty, John again, Crit Keeper, John again, Christian, Jay Fuentes, Clem, thank you for stopping by. Monty, I already said, I'll say it again. Thank you very much, Monty, Kyle, everybody. I appreciate it. Cheers, everybody. See you all again soon.